Welcome back to Dad Stuff. So, if like me, you got up early in the morning to watch the F1 26 first race of the year in Australia, I say that I didn't get up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever time it was on, but I watched the Sky replay, full replay, which I think it was on at 8 o'clock, which is still pretty early for a Sunday morning for me, to be honest. But yeah, it was a really good race, I thought. Pretty chaotic at the beginning. First 10 laps, I think we saw changes of positions for first and second about 4 or 5 times, which was pretty good. And yeah, I thought it was a good race. It was a good race. I think lots of things to talk about. This is going to be a short video today, just to provide my opinion on the drivers and how they did, and what the new formula, in my opinion, whether it was a success or not. But before we do that, let's just have a quick reminder of the race finishing order. So we had George Russell in first position for Mercedes, Kimi Antonelli as well for Mercedes in second. Third position, we had Charles Leclerc in Ferrari, and obviously Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari behind him as well. Lando Norris in fifth position, Max Verstappen in sixth, Oliver Bearman in seventh, Arvid Lindblad in eighth, Gabriel Bortoleto in ninth, and finishing off the top 10 was Pierre Gasly. So I'm going to go through the top six. I may make a couple of special mentions for some other drivers as well, but let's go through the top six first. So George Russell, solid race for him. Obviously had a challenge at the beginning. Obviously got overtaken by Charles Leclerc off the start, which I'll come to talk about in a minute. And those two were battling probably for the first 10 laps or so. But overall, really solid race. Called the strategy right at the end to do a one-stop, which I thought was really good. They could have pitted, then had to have come in and then overtaken the Ferraris again. I think that would have been a mistake based off some of the challenges they had earlier in the race. But really solid. Mercedes have by far got the fastest car, in my opinion. I think once they're in clean air, they're off. They're gone. Even towards the end of the race, they had sufficient or good enough pace to keep up with the Ferraris, who were on much fresher tyres at that point. So yeah, they've got some good pace in the open air, which is impressive. Kimi Antonelli came second. Again, solid race from him. He dropped back at the beginning because of his start wasn't too good. I think he dropped back to like fourth or fifth place, but then made his way back up the grid. And actually, towards the end of the race, he was actually starting to gain on George Russell. I don't know if it's just because George was coasting at that point and just trying to bring the car home. But yeah, no, he had some good pace. So impressive from the youngster. Looking forward to those two having a battle this year. If Mercedes do end up being the dominant manufacturer for this year, I really want to see a competitive teammate challenging George Russell. And I think Kimi can do it. He's got the pace. It's just, does he have the consistency and the strategy? But he's definitely got the pace. Charles Leclerc, what a fascinating race for him. Obviously, he had a mega start. I mean, I think everyone thought that the Ferraris were going to have a mega start anyway, but he had a mega start, went from third to first in the first corner. And that's going to be a real weapon, actually, I think, for the rest of the season, if they can maintain that advantage with that smaller turbo they have in their car. Because once he managed to get past George Russell, even though George did have, probably on paper, a faster package, getting past and managing your electrical deployment so that you get past and can maintain the lead did prove pretty difficult for George. And actually, we saw the Ferrari probably doing a little bit better of that at the beginning. George got past the Ferrari a couple of times in the first couple of laps, but then depleted his energy, and then allowed the Ferrari then to whiz by. It was quite entertaining to watch. I'll come on to like how it felt as a viewer watching that, because it was a little bit unnatural, I won't lie, but no, fantastic battling, a couple of very close moments. Fair play to Charles Leclerc for coming third. He did a really good job, and fingers crossed for Ferrari that they're in this championship this year. I do think they made a slight mistake with their strategy. They should have pitted Hamilton or Leclerc during the first, I think, safety car or first virtual safety car, just to split the strategy, just to mix things up. I think even Hamilton at the time said that they should do that. They didn't. These are the kind of little things that can make big differences over the course of a season. They're not going to try and be a bit more bold with their strategy. Obviously, they thought the one-stop could work, but then obviously Mercedes then converted theirs to a one-stop as well. So if they'd maybe gone with Lewis on a 2-stop and Leclerc on a 1-stop, it would have put Mercedes under a bit more pressure. Could have maybe leveraged that a bit better, but anyway, it is what it is. But I do want to see Ferrari taking a slightly more riskier approach, a bit like what Red Bull do. Just you've got to sometimes do something opposite to gain an advantage. Lewis Hamilton in 4th. Again, I think really solid race for him. I was after the absolute nightmare that Lewis had last year at Ferrari, and quite honestly, he was quite depressed as well. I was so happy to see him on the pace today. He was driving fantastically. He definitely had the pace of Leclerc. And actually, at the end, he was looking very likely that he was going to probably, if it had been a couple more laps, he probably would have got past Leclerc as well. So good to see him back on the pace. I saw him in an interview afterwards. He was pretty happy. I think he's now a contender potentially. I still think that Ferrari over a season aren't going to be able to challenge Mercedes, even though Mercedes hasn't had the fastest package over the last few years with the ground effect cars. As a team, they're just solid operationally and strategically, and I think that's where Ferrari are not as competitive at the moment in those areas. So I think good race for Hamilton, but got the rest of the season. Let's see. As I say, I really would love to see him win his 8th championship in a Ferrari, but he's competitive. Lando Norris, okay race for him. I think he said at the end they don't really have the pace at the moment. I think didn't really see much of him, to be honest with you, in the race, except for near the end where Max Verstappen was catching him. So yeah, average race for him. Obviously, his teammate Piastri crashed out on the outlap. Don't quite understand really what happened there. It's not something you'd expect of Piastri's caliber, but he's obviously not favouring this track, Piastri, because he had an accident last year as well, which took him out. Well, certainly dropped him a lot of places down the race in the race. So but no, solid for Lando Norris, but nothing spectacular. And I think McLaren have got some work to do on that car. Max Verstappen. I mean, you can never write off Max Verstappen. I just gutted that Max didn't get to qualify yesterday, because considering he started at the back of the grid and finished 6th, I think he would have been up there challenging for a podium, if I'm all honest. I definitely think he would have been there with the Ferraris. Whether he would have been there with the Mercedes, I don't know, but it's Max at the end of the day. He just has that couple of extra tenths of speed that he can just pull out of nowhere. So gutted to see that gutted not to see him further up the grid, but to come up the grid and get into 6th and be right behind Lando at the end of the race. I mean, again, just a mega drive from him. Looking forward to seeing him in the next race and see really how competitive that car is. So that kind of rounds out the top 6. A few notable mentions. Oliver Bearman, again, I think that kid is a future star. Definitely looking like he's going to be going to Ferrari probably when Lewis Hamilton decides to leave. He was in 7th. Again, just a fantastic, really consistent drive and lots of really good wheel-to-wheel racing. And Arvid Lindblad with the Racing Bulls. Again, really good first race, competitive. Has a good race, had a bit of close to close action with Max Verstappen, which was nice to see, and even overtook Isaac Hadjar, I think I think it was one of the first laps. Again, solid drive from him. So overall, really good race. What do I think of the new format? I think it's really good. I think it's creating lots of overtaking, and it's making it difficult for even faster cars to maintain their overtake within that lap. I think if you've got a fast car and you have a good strategy around your electrical deployment, then you'll sail off into the sunset. So I think once George Russell figures out race by race how to deploy his energy the most impactfully and the most strategically, once he gets past the car, as long as he's got a little bit of energy left, he'll then be off. But what we saw in this race was actually he wasn't able to do that. Obviously, they're still learning how to deploy the energy. It's quite a chess match. It's very strategic. And Leclerc was able to pass him back again. And it was noticeable, the difference in performance. And this was the bit for me that was just a bit unnatural. It's not to say it was actually a bad thing, but obviously watching cars last year race, they kind of progressively chase or get close to the car in front of them because they had DRS or they had slightly better downforce. With this one, it's so obvious when the electrical deployment is being discharged and the other car doesn't have it. I mean, it's like they've got some kind of super boot. Well, it is a boost button, but I think it feels unnatural to watch it at the moment. For me, it just looks a bit weird. But I will get used to it, I think, over the course of the season. And as we saw today, it created some very exciting moments, but just felt a bit weird in terms of the deficit between them and how they were overtaking. But very interesting. I think the only thing that was a bit disappointing in the race today was the commentary was good. I was watching Sky F1, but they had the graphics of the electrical deployment, and they did have that for part of the race, but not all of the race. And I think that's something they need to look at, how they engage the viewer a little bit more, because when you do have someone overtaking so quickly, you want to know if they're engaging, their power and the battery and stuff, so that they, and almost see that happening before it actually happens. They did put those graphics on for some part of the race, not at the beginning. They're obviously still testing that. I think that will get better as the season goes throughout, to just make it easier for the viewer to understand when someone's got that advantage. At the moment, we don't really know until those graphics are on. Whereas obviously in the previous season, if someone had DRS, you would know that they were, they had the flap open and they had that advantage. But yeah, overall, fantastic race. Looking forward to next week. So I think it's China next week, another early one. So yeah, I'll do another preview video maybe after qualifying to give you my prediction. Actually, I'll do it after practice. Actually, make it a bit fairer. My predictions after practice, who I think is going to win the race. But definitely looking very solid for Mercedes, that's for sure. Ferrari have impressed me. I didn't think they would be as good as they were today. Red Bull are up there. I think McLaren have got a bit to do. If I was to say pecking order at the moment, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, I think are thereabouts. Maybe Ferrari a little bit more. And then I think McLaren are in fourth. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting season. Looking forward to it, and hope you look forward to it too. If you like these little analysis videos, please give me a comment below, and anything I can improve on as well. Like I say, I just love Formula One. These videos are just for me to kind of talk about my opinions on the race and the drivers themselves. And hopefully as we get throughout the season, there'll be some more controversy to talk about. But yeah, if you like these little videos, then give me a like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. See you later.